All right, our cumulative frequency plots and our ogives. Let's go ahead and do our interpretations. So that 100th percentile is where you have 100% of data is less than that amount. So that, of course, is all the way up here. So remember, we say Y percent of items have X amount or less. Y percent of items have X amount or less, and then context. So 100% of students got a 105 on their elementary statistics final exam or less. 105 or less, okay? Interpret the meaning of 6522. 22% of students scored 65 or less on their final exam. Okay, now if there are 50 students, why does the y-axis go up to 100? Well, that's because the y-axis is cumulative, so that's 100% of the 50 students. And then here were your um, box and your Q1 and your Q3 and stuff. So here I had to put like the 20th, 5th percentile. The 50th percentile was about right here. And then the 75th percentile was about at 86 or so. So there were my numbers that I approximated. It was kind of difficult to tell. So I'd say that IQR is about 20. So then I did the fence, Q3 plus 1.5 IQRs, Q1 minus 1.5 IQRs. It looks like there are no upper outliers. See here where my fence came on the upper outlier fence. Now this lower outlier fence is right at about 36. So what happens is we may have 35 because they marked 35 there. So there could be one student who got a 35. That's why it's starting there. So perhaps there is whoever got less than 36 is an outlier. All right. So now let's talk about this, okay? Because we're going to kind of get into this idea of the shape of the distribution. Kind of hard to tell just from our box plot. I definitely can't tell modes at this point. We don't know how to tell from our box plot. But take a look at this. It looks fairly symmetric. My whiskers are about the same size, so fairly symmetric. Okay. All right. So that's what I put. The shape looks fairly symmetric. The left whisker is a little longer and an outlier, so you could possibly say slightly skewed left. Now remember, you cannot do modes from a box plot. So let's describe the distribution with our socks, context, and be specific. So shape, the distribution of the final exam scores is slightly skewed left, somewhat symmetric, slightly skewed left. There may be one lower outlier below 35, but there are no upper outlier exam scores. See, I should have put, oh, I did have exam score stated in there. So good. Center, the median is about 75 or 76 of the exam score. Now, notice I'm using median and IQR. I probably could use mean and standard deviation since it is, almost symmetric. Okay. But I mean, we don't have the ability to know what that mean and standard deviation is. So it's okay to default to the values that you do know, and that is your IQR and your standard deviation. So that's what I did, or your IQR and median. So my center is the median exam score of about 75 or 76, and the IQR, the middle 50%, is about 20 points wide from 66 to 86. Now, what percent of students passed the exam? Well, if that's a 70% pass rate, then I come on up here and I see that it's this purple line, a 70% pass rate is about 35% of students. Got a 70, ooh, that I did wrong. Wrong for me. Because so look, I stated this the wrong way. Ooh, dang, good catch that I caught that. So 35% of students got a 70 or less. Well, but hold on, that means that 65% of students passed. Okay, because that had to be the upper part. So that's the rest of them. Okie dokie. All right. So there is that one. Next. So again, I talked about this yesterday in the notes that this was not relative frequency curve. I relabeled it out of the 180-day Aspen ski season amounts of days so that I then turned it into percentages. So I have those percentages here. Now, these are going to be kind of approximated. So you may not get exactly what I have on this page, okay? But you can have fairly close. So again, the values are approximated. I put my Q1 at about 32, my Q3 at about 47 at the 75th percentile, and that median at about 41, 40, 41, wherever you approximated it. Again, these will be close. So I did my fences with an IQR of 15. That puts my upper fence at 69.7. So that is right here. So whatever is above that 69.7 degrees, which I do probably have a little bit above that. Okay. So I have a little bit of, looks like I have a few days above 69.5. And there was a lower fence of 9.5. That was not a high temperature on the chart. It was off of the chart. No lower outliers on this. And see, because this, here's this fence at 69.5 degrees that came over to here. So see, I knew that there was some days here, you know, that's 70. So that's maybe 2 or 3 days, somewhere in there. Okay, so that's how I could tell that outlier. All right, put the fences and superimpose the box plot. What does the shape look like? So I guess it's a little longer on the right. So I would say a little slightly skewed to the right. And we don't know modes. Okay, so describe it. Shape. The shape of the daily high temperatures. Context and be specific. Appears to be slightly skewed to the right. There appears to be about 4 or 5 days with upper outliers above a high temperature of 69.5 degrees, no lower outliers for that daily high temperature. The median high temperature for the Aspen ski season is about 41 degrees. The range is about 55 degrees, with that middle 50% being at 15 degrees from about 32 to 47. I kind of sound like a weather person, just kind of rolling off those statistics there. All right. Determine how many days the daily high temperature equals or exceeds 46 degrees. So I had to come up here and see my 46 degrees right here. And then that's at 120 days. So how many days equal or exceed? Well, that's about 60 days, I guess. So what did I put there? Oh, I 33% of days. What did I do? Oh, so there. I should have just said the number of days because I can tell it's right at about 120. But I said 67%. Oh, and that's wrong again. Well, the top 33%. Is that what I put? The top 33% equal or exceed. Okay. How about the 60 or above? Well, that's about the top 10% equal or exceed. So here's that 67, the top 10%, 60 degrees, 60 degrees right here, this line here. And then I come on over here, and that's about at 170. So about 10 days or whatever percent that is. Oh, it's not top 10%. It's about the top 10 days. Okay. So there is that one. Did we have any others? Oh, yeah. AP one. AP free response question. So here we go. In context, explain what this information is conveyed by this circled point. And that means Y% of the items had X amount or less. So that's 40% of the sales agents had monthly sales of $300,000 or less. Okay. Units, context. You had to read and understand what this problem was about to get all of that there. Next, what proportion of the sales agents achieved a monthly sales between 7 and 800,000? So that's here, this little section right here. If I follow over here, That's from point 7 to point 8. So that is 10% of sales agents sold between $700,000 and $800,000 in monthly sales. So for 10 and 11, the plot is flat. In context, what does that mean? So that's asking about this little section right here that's flat. That means no additional sales agents sold this amount from 10 to 11, which would have been $1 million to $1.1 million in monthly sales. So there's that one. And finally, we had a bonus of the top 20%. So who gets that? Well, let's come on over here and see who this top 20% I highlighted in yellow. So that's the sales agents who sell $800,000 or more in monthly sales. They will be considered in the top 20% and get a bonus. All right. Context, specific numbers, knowing how to read that cumulative frequency plot. That's it. And then we'll start our notes on our skew and our shapes of our cumulative frequency plots.